Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Up the Pilgrims. This is the podcast of Boston United of the National League.
Yay!
I am joined once again by David and Stedders. And guys, what a weekend. Stedders.
What a weekend, Damo. What can we say?
I'm still partying.
A weekend that will go down in Boston United history as we headed over to that playoff final at Brackley and did the absolute business on the pitch, didn't we? 2-1 overall. Even coming from behind, here's a strange fact for you as well. And I heard this one on the radio. Before that game, Cully's reign, we've only had a 9% chance of coming from behind in a game the whole time he's been in charge. So a 1 in 10 times that's happened, and it happened for us on Saturday. That's a ridiculous fact, really, isn't it? 9%.
It is.
And they managed to do it, didn't they? But you know what? We woke up and we got on the bus early, and we all felt the same. All the fans around us said, it just feels different. And the whole day just felt like it was going to be our day for a change. Everything seemed to fall into place, didn't it? But like I say, the fans all felt it. The players felt it. And it's just our time, guys. And we said it in the podcast previously. The whole thing, the whole atmosphere of the game, even falling behind. I know David got the prediction right in terms of score, but I predicted that game would actually be easier than the Scunthorpe game, and it turned out it actually was.
It was.
So which is surprising. Completely nullifying them second half. When that penalty goes in, they looked dead on their feet, didn't they? The defenders couldn't defend. They couldn't keep up with the pace that we brought off the bench. It was just ticking all the boxes of performance. The guys just wanted it more than they did. They wanted to make themselves etched into Boston United history. And I'm happy, really, really happy to say they managed to do that. Fantastic.
David.
Yeah, just going back to what Tom said about Brackley just looking dead on their feet. That just might be Brackley being Brackley. That's, I believe, 7 playoff misses. They missed out on getting promoted 7 times since they've been in this division. We knew it was going to be a hard game, but like you say, everybody was full of confidence, and you could, as soon as you got in the ground, the pub, the plough before the game, you could feel the atmosphere, and everybody was like, it's our time, it's time to go up. And we just went there and put on a performance, like Tom said previous as well. We went a goal down. Under Culver House, we haven't been the best when we've been pegged back, but it just showed the desire of the team and the willingness to get promoted. And we did it in the end after all this time, 14 years of being playing regional football. We're finally back into the National League, especially. I know we're going to take a look at the National League for next season, but there's certainly some great away days that we have next year, and hopefully we can solidify our place in that.
Definitely. I mean, I have to echo what you're all saying as well. You know, I got that. I think even from the Scunthorpe game, you know, as soon as we won that on penalties, it just felt confident. We just felt confident. And like you say, turned up at Brackley on Saturday. You know, everyone was buzzing, everyone was singing and chanting. The place was packed out. And yeah, you just felt like we were going to win. And even when Brackley scored the goal, it was kind of like, oh no. But at the same time, it was kind of like, okay, well, we're going to score, we're going to equalise, and we're going to win this game. And I didn't have any doubt, even when we were 1-0 down for that 10 minutes or so, that we were going to, you know, lose the game. All the time I thought we would come back into it and we would win. And it's a bit ironic that it was a penalty that won us the game out of after the other 2 games, winning on penalties. That a penalty in normal time was the goal that sent us up to the National League. So absolutely fantastic. The whole team performance was just superb. I thought, you know, every player gave it their all. You know, and they've had some really tough games, you know, at Alfreton and at Scunthorpe, and they've just carried on and just pulled off this result. Like you said, Brackley looked really tired. You know, they looked by the end of the game, you know, I wasn't even worried about them equalising too much. They didn't really look like they were going to equalise. And they were making mistakes towards the end of that game as well, for Boston's advantage. And and in the end, fantastic result, and we did it.
We sure did. Yeah, momentum's a massive thing, isn't it? Everybody's been saying this throughout these playoffs. We have the momentum. To win 5 away games in a row is absolutely astonishing. I don't think anybody would have thought, any Boston or even true Boston fan would have thought we'd have got them 5 away wins that we needed, including them 2 in the postseason. Unbelievable. But yeah, the momentum was with us. They wanted it more. Brackley, just like you say, didn't seem to at the races at all. Second half completely nullified them. Once that penalty goes in, they never look like getting back in the game. I can't remember Cameron Gregory making a save second half. He made a fantastic save first half, pushing him on to the post, though, didn't he? An absolute sublime save. But like I say, second half, very quiet for him. Just catching the odd cross into the box. They never really tested us in terms of that play. And again, it's an absolute testament to our defence as well. Them back 4 have been absolutely solid for these past 5 games. And Brad Nicholson, I went over to him actually after the game on Sunday. He was in the far corner. Lots of people were celebrating over the main players and that lot.
Yes.
And I said, I took Oliver over to him, and I said to him, I said, mate, you're actually my player of the playoffs. And he says, I'm so happy to hear it. He says, you know what I mean? He says, I know I've made some mistakes during the season. He says, I know it's happened. He says, but I'm so glad I've managed to help get this team up and elevate my own performance to get us to where we should be. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And that just shows you the kind of team spirit they've got there, haven't they? In abundance, you know, these guys would run through brick walls for each other by the sound of it. And long may that continue. And we're going to come on to the squads as well in further podcasts. But just a quick one for me. I hope that we can keep as many of these players as possible, if I'm honest. We don't need to make wholesale changes. I just think if we need to add a little bit of quality. These guys have got momentum, and momentum can carry on into another season as well. And that's just, you know, we need a good summer now, don't we? And just to see and assess where we are and see what's the best plan of action. But these guys deserve all the plaudits, all the celebrations, all the car dancing, and everything else that's been going on, and all the shenanigans over the last few days. They deserve everything. They've been fantastic.
Well, of course, it's going to carry on as well. And we've actually heard before we came on to this podcast tonight that they're actually having a celebration at the Jakeman's Community Stadium this Thursday, the 9th of May. And it's going to be gates open at 6 o'clock and all the proceedings start at 7 o'clock. Scott Dalton from BBC Radio Lincolnshire will be hosting. And it's a chance for all the fans to get to the ground, see the players, meet the players, have photos with them, and with the playoff cup as well, which looks very much like the FA Cup, I thought, as well. But yeah, it's going to be a great evening and a chance for, you know, a lot of the supporters that obviously couldn't get there on Saturday to, you know, to celebrate as well, which will be really good, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's a lovely thing to do. It brings all the people out that, like you say, I was the only one in my family that actually got a ticket to go to Brackley, and the rest were watching back at the JCS on the big screen. But they said they thoroughly enjoyed it, as they should have, because Boston went up. But it's just a chance for them to just connect and everybody around surrounding the club now to celebrate this all together as one and celebrate our promotion to the National League.
Of course, yeah. So it's going to be, you know, absolutely brilliant, and looking forward to that night and seeing some of the players. Hopefully they'll all be there, including obviously some of the lone player like Deji Satona, who obviously will be going back to Doncaster now. But obviously we'll talk about that in a future podcast on what we think might happen with players like that, which we will do. But let's move on, and obviously we're going up into the National League. So what do you think now? You know, obviously when the dust settles and the parties finish and the headaches clear, what do you think Boston might need to look at doing? Obviously, apart from signing up all the new players, you know, what do you think they need to do to prepare for the National League?
Well, it's going to be an interesting summer, isn't it, in terms of on and off the field. Mr. Newton was on the radio, and a big shout out to him again for us. Mr. Chairman has been fantastic. but he's been on the radio saying that, you know, he's looking to start building that stand, isn't he? Trying to get that started. I don't know if that'll be the summertime to start of next season or when that will be. Does this mean Boston go full-time football as well? Possibly. We'll await an announcement on that. But again, that might just open up a new caliber of player, interesting for us as well. What do they need to do, Damo? I think they need to try and get the infrastructure right. I think next season is absolutely vital. If you have offered any Boston fan where to finish next season in the table, fifth bottom is absolutely fine. I have no problems with finishing that. I think it's in terms of we need to survive next season.
Yes.
And to me, we don't blow our budget on it trying to get somewhere where we don't need to be. Fifth bottom's fine. You might as well, like I said earlier, stick with a squad. These guys have earned their right, I think. And I think Tamworth will do very much similar. They will keep with their squad they've got and hopefully add a bit of quality to it. I think that's all we need to do. I don't think we need wholesale changes, regardless of going up. But it's all about if these players are willing to make that step up to the league with us as well. And just going back to as well for the celebrations, one thing I did notice was, and which was a great point made by a few fans as well, is we've made all these guys seem like local heroes this weekend.
Yes.
This might change a few of their contracts and their thoughts about their next year's football. Do they want to be sat at a League Two club or a higher National League club on a bench not playing? Or do they want to come back and rewrite history again next season, potentially with us, and continue their footballing careers with us? I just think that this has been the best thing that could happen to this playing squad, and that these guys may just think in the back of their heads now. You know, like I said, we put them up in hero status where they should be. And I hope that sometimes just makes them second think about their next footballing decision.
David?
Yeah, I sort of echo what Tom said. It's pretty obvious, but the National League's a very hard league. You get all the teams coming down from the Football League. You have to talk about ex-Football League clubs as well. Yeovil just gone up from the south. Forest Green just come down. Oldham in there, Premier League founder. It's going to be hard, and we're going to have to strengthen. But we've got a good nucleus. That's the main part. The back line, goalkeeper, we've got a good base, really. Much to do with what Tamworth did to this league. They had a good base, and they made one or two additions, and they were there. Maybe we're all not hoping, and we're all not thinking we're going to do a Tamworth next year, but we just have to strengthen in the areas. I know there's been lots of interest around, like Tom said, Football League clubs sniffing around some of our players. But I echo Tom again. This run of form at the end of the season to win the playoffs as well will hopefully have influenced some of the players massively on their decisions of what to do next year. Obviously, it's up to them and what the board can offer them next year in the National League. Obviously, probably the wages of these players are definitely going to go up as it's a higher level of football, and whether we make the jump to full time is also, we're waiting to find out about that. But we'll just have to see, really. Like we say, we do need to strengthen in some key areas. Particularly, I reckon we need another few in the midfield, probably. I don't know about Martin Woods. He's quality when he plays, but he's struggling with injuries and lots of little knocks, especially at this end of the season. We saw he went down again in the playoff final, but when he's playing, he's such a stellar player on that pitch. But like I said, I just think we need to keep the squad, a few additions next year, and I would be more than happy to stay up by the skin of our teeth in that National League. And I think that's what most Boston fans will be wanting as well.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you on that one. Fifth from bottom would be absolutely fantastic. Staying in that league next season. I mean, with the infrastructure at the ground, I think you've got to look at the stadium. We've got that empty end now. I'm not sure what they tend to do with if any away fans now that want to sit. Do they actually put them in the Acorn stand now?
Yeah, block A, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. So, I mean, they might want to try and put them into, into the new stand if it's built. I believe it's going to be seating and some terracing, from what I understand, from pictures. But I know that changes all the time. Like you said, are they going to stick with the hybrid or are they going to go full time? I would imagine majority of teams are full-time in the conference, if not all of them.
I believe two are part-time, Damo, I believe, out of all of them. Or
Right.
two are not full-time, should I say. So,
right.
yeah, let's say majority are full-time. So, yeah, another decision that needs to be made.
Yeah. And, I mean, of course, I think Boston are going to have more fans coming to games. I think the average attendance is going to go up as well. Probably looking at least 2,000 plus per game now, I would say, next season, which is going to be great for the club. More revenue coming in. So yeah, everything on and up really. So looking forward to next season. It'll be interesting few weeks just to see what's going to happen. I guess the players will be going on holiday very soon, and the management team, and then that's when they come back. That's when the hard work begins, and we'll start seeing changes. I would imagine towards June and the end of all through June and beginning of July, we'll start to see the changes and find out from the club what is actually going on. So exciting times ahead, exciting couple of months ahead, and looking forward to the fixture list as well. And I believe the first game is August the 10th. Have I got that right? Yes, brilliant. So that should be a date to look forward to, and hopefully we'll start off with a home fixture. Fingers crossed. But just having a look at some of the teams though that are in the league. So I've got some of the names here of some of the teams that we're going to be playing. So just let us know what you think. Gateshead, Hartlepool United, York City, AFC Fylde, Rochdale, Altrincham, Oldham, Tamworth, Solihull Moors, Braintree, Southend, Ebbsfleet, Maidenhead, Woking, Forest Green Rovers, Aldershot, Yeovil, Eastleigh, Southend, Barnet, Dagenham and Redbridge, Sutton United, and Wealdstone. We can win the league, can't we? What do you reckon?
He's on cloud nine. So yeah,
still celebrating.
I don't blame you. It was such an achievement. We're going back to this. There's some big names in there, and there's some away days that are absolutely going to be Yeovil to name one of them. We've got a bit of history, and Dagenham and Redbridge. Particularly looking forward to Oldham. Big club full of level. Also York and Altrincham who beat us. We could have a bit of afters with them and hopefully get one over from the playoff finals. You've also got Rochdale, who can't believe it. They were in League One when we played them in the FA Cup in 2019. Now they're in the same division. I think my favourite and the game I'm most excited for next season will be Southend. What a journey their fans and the club has been on, and it's I believe it's going to be a lovely day out by the seaside, and it's just a nice ground, and I'm just really looking forward to going to all these new grounds. It's been a bit boring the last few years, always going to the same places, and it's just a different experience. And I just hope the players can do what's needed on the pitch and the ball back off the pitch, which I'm sure they will do.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to Barnet as well. That's going to be a good one as well. I think they're one of the favourites as well, aren't they, to go straight up next season. So it's going to be a tough game like any of them. But I mean, what's going to be our local rivals next season?
Tamworth.
yeah.
Tamworth is the closest game out of all of them geographically. Just going back to that list of names as well, Damo. How important is home form going to be next season?
Yes.
It's going to be massive, isn't it? We need to make that place a fortress again this season around, don't we? We've been very, very lucky with the away wins and the away form as well. Again, though, momentum, I use that word again, momentum. If we can carry on any kind of away form and pick up points away from home next season, they're going to be bonus points for me. We need to start getting that home form bang on from the start of next season, and try and pick up points against as many teams as we can. And not be scrapping come the end of the season. Just try and get a decent total come Christmas time. And not be languishing at the bottom. I've seen a lot of predictions for this league for next season as well, and a lot of people are thinking we're going to finish bottom or second bottom, which don't I say write us off at your peril, because a lot of teams aren't going to want to come to us as well as we're in terms geographically we're right out of the way compared to some places. it's a trek for them as well, isn't it? So
It is.
that's why you've got to make these home games count, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. And I mean, I think it's just going to help the local area as well next season, isn't it? You know, we're having teams coming from quite a way. You know, the hotels that are nearby. You know, we've got the quadrant with the restaurants and the cafes there, which will probably help them as well gain some money, and it might even bring new cafes and restaurants and other places into the quadrant now. So, you know, it's just not going to help just the football club, but it's going to help the whole economy for Boston as well, you know, in the local area. So, which is going to be very exciting. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to us. There are some grounds that I've actually been to. I have to admit, Rochdale I've been to before. I've been to Hartlepool. I've been to York. I haven't been to York actually. That's a new one. You've been to York, haven't you? Have you both of you been to York?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We did
so
it
that's a new
twice.
one.
We did the Tuesday night. I believe Danny Elliott scored that one from outside the box. That was
That's
the
right.
peach of the goal, that one, yeah. And then we did the playoff final as well. Let's not talk about that. Let's move
But we
on.
won't talk about that one. No.
We've won this one, so it's all right.
But Halifax as well. I mean, I think they still play at the Shea Ground, which I've been to many years ago, and I actually do remember a cafe round the corner that's had the best chip butties. So I'm hopefully looking forward to getting there and seeing if it's still there after all these years.
You got to remember as well, Damo, that some of these games are going to be on TV as well. We're going to get more TV rights. So
yes.
National League Television and TNT Sports have got a partnership. So you might find that 3 or 4 of these games are televised over the season for Boston, which is even more money in the coffers, isn't it? Which is fantastic. You know, they're going to get more exposure. This is the point. I mean, that playoff win at the weekend, it was on national television, and all of a sudden, Saturday afternoon at 5 or 5:30 it was, everybody was talking about Boston United.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the good thing, and it made stars out of the players, and well, it made a star out of yourself as well, Stedders.
Yeah, a little bit of adrenaline in there as well. When I went up to that camera, I just saw him scoping around, and I thought, I don't know if he's filming or not. And I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I didn't know what to say. I'm just really glad I didn't swear.
yeah, that could have been interesting, but yeah, I was spotted on TV as well. I was spotted apparently wandering around the pitch, looking aimlessly, lost, thinking, where should I go next?
Most of us were. You could see the emotion on people's faces, and there was tears of joy from our fans.
Yes.
That just shows how much it meant to. I was wondering. I had a Vanarama sign in my hand, which got taken by the coppers by Northamptonshire Police in the end. I just thought I'll get a little memento, but no, I had to hand that back as I saw as we were walking out the ground. The other signs were also being took away from people. But I have to say, when I was on that pitch at full time, I found it hard to take in that we'd really done it. I know lots of people were celebrating with the players. I went over in the end and joined them as they all got on people's shoulders and stuff. But yeah, I was just staggered that after 14 years, we got out of regional football and we're back where we belong in the National League, in non-league football's top flight.
Of course. And I mean, I haven't supported the team as long as you guys, but I mean, even I felt the emotion on that pitch. You know, I sort of went on there and I think it was just so many emotions on that pitch. It's kind of like relief, excitement. You know, you felt quite emotional at one. You know, I felt quite emotional at one point as well, especially seeing other supporters in tears. I mean, I went up to Ethan Septon and sort of shook his hand and congratulated him, even though he wasn't playing. But he actually said, you know, this one's for you guys. You know, you've been waiting 14 years or so for this, and you know, which I thought was fantastic. Gave a big hug to Joe Simpson as well. So when I came across him, and yeah, all the players, I mean, they all understood, I think, as well, which was quite important, how important it was for the fans. And that was something that I noticed, that they wanted to show the fans, you know, everyone celebrated together, didn't they? Which I thought was important.
Yeah, really important, weren't it? We showed our togetherness, didn't we? I was hugging strangers, people I've never even seen at football before. I'm sure they've been in different stands or that, but I was just hugging guys next to me. But I must admit, I had it was a lump in in a throat moment at the end of the final whistle, and I did shed a tear or two, because it's just been so long, and when it means so much to us supporters and fans, it's just relief, isn't it? It's the relief more than anything. That we've finally managed to do what we haven't managed to do for so long, and to get this club back to parity. That's the point I said on one of my posts on the Facebook supporters page. This is parity. This is where we should be as a football team.
Yeah.
We got doubly demoted. We got demoted 2 leagues, and not by anything on the football field, or by bad wrongdoings in the hierarchy and how it was run, and all things like that. Nothing football wise. We are now back to where we should be on a football scale. Everything on the pitch. This is where we deserve to be. This is where we should have been before. And like you say, it took us 14 years to get out of this one league. It took us 3 to get out the last one. So in total, it took us 17 years to get back to 0 in terms of where we should have been, and rightly be. So yeah, you can't blame the fans for feeling this way. It's great. It's raw emotion. It just shows how much it means to them. And like we say, let's just hope we can stay here for a few seasons and enjoy our time in this league. And who knows, this could be our natural home. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
Exactly. Yeah. Got to totally agree with you there. So, right. Shall we have a look? Shall we talk about some of the things that, like this season, like goal of the season? As Boston has scored many goals this season, and a few important ones. In fact, everyone turned out to be very important in the end of the season. But what would you say, David? What would you say was your goal of the season?
Well, I think it's going to be a common theme between us 3, but you have to just give it to that strike from Keziah Martin against Warrington Town. That was an amazing goal. I wasn't actually there. I was jumping up and down on my balcony in Spain watching that go in the back of the net. But yeah, that was a lovely finish from about 40 yards, just to put it in the top corner. No one's saving that. But the best goal I've probably seen live this season, I'd probably give it to Jordan Richards versus Kings Lynn on Boxing Day. That was an absolute rocket, straight past Paul Jones. There's no saving that, mate. And it made it a bit better doing it against Kings Lynn. And yeah, it was just an amazing day that day.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. That was I watched that one on the telly. Actually, I managed to watch that one, and that was a great goal because of that one. Stedders.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to agree with David. I'm going to go with something a little bit different. And my boy enjoyed this one. I know Oliver, so shout out to Oliver. But the Jacob Hazel effort against, I think it was Kings Lynn at home, actually, on the New Year's Day, outside of the right foot, wasn't it, to the top corner?
Yes.
Unbelievable strike. And in terms of where he was in that game as well, it was a great time to score it as well. But yeah, I'd go with that. But I love the 2 goals that David's just mentioned as well. By the way, if we had to vote for a goal of the season and give a trophy for it this season, you might as well just give up, because there's been that many great goals this year. It's been unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, if we're talking about important goals or goal of the season, if you're talking important goals, the Keaton Ward goal on Saturday has to be up there, doesn't it?
It does,
maybe
of course.
The Giassi one as well, on the break against Blythe. That was such an important goal when you look back at that now, isn't it? In terms of important goals. But yeah, for me, that Jacob Hazel one outside the right boot, top corner, top bin's fantastic.
Yeah, funny because talking about the Giassi one, that's probably my goal of the season, the Giassi against Blythe. Absolutely brilliant, and the time he did it, and just the whole game, that whole last 6 minutes or so was just absolutely unbelievable. But then I'm going to go with Jimmy Knowles' penalty against Brackley, because what an important goal it was. Whenever you needed someone to step up at that moment, the pressure that he must have been under, he had to score that penalty. And I mean, we've spoken about penalties, and obviously this season, obviously we've had the penalty shootouts. We've had a few penalties, which obviously we missed them penalties as well in that other game earlier on, not too long ago in the season. 2 penalty misses in one game. So it's turned out that penalties have actually gone for us in the end, and he couldn't have got it any better. Straight into the corner and sent us up to the National League. So for me, yeah, Giassi's goal was fantastic against Blythe, but for an important goal, I would say Jimmy Knowles' goal against Brackley for me was my goal of the season. Simple as it was, really. But what about moment of the season? Is it obvious or?
Well, you can talk. I mean, this is interesting because I'm going to go for a player that doesn't play for our team, and the moment that we believe this season, I think Tom knows what I'm going to say, is Cole Hall's miss against us at Scarborough at home. He was wheeling away in celebration. They would have won that game. He'd already had his shirt off and he missed the goal. We couldn't believe it. And that ended up getting us the point that we needed to get into these playoffs and would have allowed us to have this amazing run we've had and get promoted. That wouldn't have happened if he could just finish his dinner. But for us, I have to say, it's probably Keaton Ward's goal as well on Saturday. The moment, it could have not been any more perfect. Gavin Cowan was set up 100% with his halftime team talk, but it could have not come at a better time. It just put a stint and threw a spanner in the works, and that's why I believe we went on to go and win the game, because it was such a great time to score. It really must have been a blow to the gut for Brackley, and that's why I believe we went out with a strong first half and we were able to got the penalty, stuck the penalty away, and we just believe we could win it from furthermore.
Tom, what was your moment of the season?
I'll go for one of each, as well as David's gone for one each. So for a Boston point of view, my moment of the season was probably Jacob Hazel, the equaliser at Scunthorpe in the league. I think that was such a pivotal game, weren't it? You know, and you know what? They felt under pressure from us, and you know, and I'm a big believer in psychological things, and I think psychologically in that playoff that we had the upper hand. We knew that we could do something against them. They knew we could do something against them. So for them to score in that end, just as the injury time board goes up and sponsored by, I don't know, some solicitors or something like that, weren't it? And he literally
everything was sponsored.
Exactly. He literally just puts it into that corner. An absolute scene in that away end. So from a Boston point of view, Jacob Hazel equaliser at Scunthorpe. From an opposition point of view, a little bit similar to what David said, I'm going to go for the guy who hit the post at Hereford, because that's a massive moment in that game where we needed to get something out of the game. They hit the post first half and it comes back out and gets cleared. But again, the minuscule little moments like that, and it's just all added up, and it just seems like the start. We said it before, stars were aligned. Somebody above us was watching us this season, because it all just happened to click. And look at us now. We're here talking about a promotion. But if all these little moments didn't happen, we wouldn't be having these chats, would we? So, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. What about yourself, Damo?
I think mine would be the 3 late goals at home to Blythe Spartans. The game itself, we were absolutely terrible, really. We were trying and just couldn't get any shots in. They'd taken the lead, and we just looked like, we were sort of preparing. We're going to lose this game. I know people around me had actually left the stadium. They'd actually already left and gone home. And then suddenly we just equalised, got the second goal, and then, just finished it off with the third goal. And all within sort of the last minute, up to 6 minutes of injury time, I believe it was. And we scored the 3 goals to win the game. And again, it's just like any other result, really. How important was it to get that result in that Blythe game, to carry on with the season? It was quite early on in the season. I think it was September time, something like that, I believe. And, at that time, how important it was just to get that score, just to keep on moving up the league and staying up within touching distance of the other teams at the top of the league. And yeah, absolutely. And the scenes in the ground, I've just not seen anything like it. That was the first time that I've really seen, the scenes really just everyone just take off and be absolutely go crazy. So, I think there was a bit of relief, bit of excitement, and brilliant. And also, I thought you mentioned it earlier on Saturday, the save that Cam made in the first half, where he palmed it onto the post. Obviously, a massive save that was as well, because I was talking to somebody actually on the coach on the way back to Boston, and they were saying they've known before if a keeper would do that, and it would probably end up in the side netting of the goal, you know, and in the net for a goal. Whereas that one, thankfully, hit the post and went wide. So a very important save by Cameron Gregory there to keep us in the game at that moment. So, and what about game of the season?
Well, obviously, you got a few. You got all the playoff ones. We just showed our solidity in every single one of them, and winning the promotion to the National League against Brackley on Saturday was, of course, ecstatic. It was amazing. But if we're not going for a playoff one, in terms of atmosphere and the result and how we did it, I'm going to go for South Shields away. What a day that was! I know Tom came with me for that. And the atmosphere was electric. I know lots of people were going on a night out in Newcastle afterwards, and I think that just helped it. Everybody, loads of people came up. That's the most we took to the Northeast in years, if I can remember. It was an amazing atmosphere, and to just get the win against a high flying South Shields team at the time, it was just amazing.
Tom?
Yeah, again, just to differ from David, I'm going to go with the Chorley away performance for me. 3-0 up, and an absolute masterclass in counter-attacking football and attacking football from that first half. Against a team we usually naturally struggle against away from home. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Probably the best team performance for me of the season. In the regular season, of course, we could talk about the playoff games, but yeah, Chorley away for me was the one. It was a Jimmy Knowles hat trick that day, an absolute fantastic display from the Pilgrims, bringing 3 points home. And you know what? One of them games where I just started to believe a little bit that things are coming together. It was one of them afternoons where you just felt everything clicked, and I used it a lot as well for other games. If the Boston of Chorley away turns up, we'll beat anybody in this league, and I'm glad to say they turned up plenty of times since. So yeah, fantastic. Chorley away for me.
I think I have to agree with you on that one. I didn't go to that game, but I did watch that one, and the performance was absolutely outstanding from Boston from start to finish against Chorley, like you said, and a great all-round team performance. Didn't really do anything wrong in the whole game. Plus, you had the penalty missed by them as well, which helped. And yeah, it was just an all-round fantastic performance from the team, and I think I would have to go with that one. Apart from obviously the obvious on Saturday, it would have to be Chorley away. I'm going to throw this one in there. What do you think was the best away performance at Boston this season? So what team do you think came and actually played the best down at the Jakemans? I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say, because I think Brackley actually looked fantastic. They were only with us, a few weeks ago, a month or so ago now. They beat us 2-1 at the Jakemans. I thought they looked absolutely fantastic, looked superb. They just seemed so well organised. And I think that did worry me before Saturday's game, was how well organised they seemed to look down at our place. And yeah, they beat us quite easily and looked looked like a comfortable win for them. Where I sit in the stadium is near the away bench. You know, the manager there has got it all, seemed as though he had it all under control. He telling the players what to do. They were listening to him, doing exactly what he said. And whatever game plan they had that day just seemed to work to perfection.
What do you think changed then, Damo, from that to the game on Saturday? If you could put a finger on it.
That's the thing. I think it was just Boston looked better on that day. Boston just seemed to have the confidence. For some reason, Brackley didn't have the confidence that they had in that game at Boston. And I found that I watched the Chorley game against Brackley. And Brackley again didn't look as confident as they did when they came down here. Whether it was tiredness, whether the season was just starting to get on top of them, maybe they're aware of previous seasons in the playoffs and they were starting to get a bit worried about the hoodoo striking again, which it did, fortunately for us. And yeah, whether it was just down to that, I'm not sure, but they were a completely different team at Brackley. They were not the same team as they were when they played away at our place.
Right, so I've just had a think of the teams. I can remember 2 teams really that came to the J. I know there was more, but 2 stick out. One of them was the Russell Tuesday night 1-0 against us. That was a horrible old game. They played really well. I know they stayed up by the skin of their teeth in the National North. And then the other one that you have to give it to, I'm probably going to give it to this, and it's probably common sense and pretty well known, that the Tamworth game at home was that 2-0, I believe. They absolutely put us to hell. They were so organised, so good, and that's when I sort of believed that Tamworth are a real force this year. And lo and behold, they went and won the whole thing. Yeah, they did a proper job that night. I remember they just had 2 quite lucky goals, but it's I've always believed you have to create your own luck. You don't just get lucky over time. You have to create. You have to work for luck, and you have to work for your chances. And they just got the chances. They fell for them. They were in the right area at the right time and just beat us. They looked a good team. Then you can see why they went and won the division.
Stedders?
Yeah, the one team that I'm going to mention actually is not one that necessarily won the game down there, but the performance down there changed their season. That's going to be Darlington. They came to us. I think they came to us just starting to turn a corner under new manager Steve Watson, and they came to us and they lost that night. But they looked so good that Tuesday night. They were so unlucky that night. We managed to pick up the 3 points against them from home. And I remember going again onto Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days, and saying to these Darlington fans, stick with this because you look good. And they looked really good that night. They were really unfortunate that night to get something from that game. And then from then, look what's happened. They've been on a fantastic run, and it was that game that turned it. I think they went on a run of about 8 or 9 games unbeaten after that, and put a run together which has seen them get to safety again. I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the top 10 next season, National League North. But yeah, I'm going to go with Darlington, who I was most impressed by. But they didn't necessarily win the game, but I was impressed to the fact that they looked like something that could do something post-season. They had a horrendous start to the season, didn't they?
They did.
And look at how well they finished it off in the end. They did really well in the end to get done with a few games to spare. So, yeah, for me, it was Darlington.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I do remember them coming down to us, and I'm thinking, well, they've done okay. They're starting to pick up a few results here. This is going to be quite tricky, but we managed to get the victory. But like you said, they finished the season quite strongly. And I've got to agree with you, actually. Darlington are looking good for, like you said, probably top 10, maybe top 5, even if they can carry on the way they're going. And they've got Steve Watson in charge, haven't they? Yes, that's right. Steve Watson in charge there, and he seems to be doing a really good job. He's got the players together, and yeah, things are looking good for them for next season. So yeah, we wish them well in the north, and we might be seeing them soon. You never know. Not too soon, though, of course.
Yeah, just to touch on Steve Watson, I believe he managed York in 2019 when we were fighting with Craig Elliott at that top end of the table, and we
Right.
yeah, and he was such a good manager then. We always had good games against York back in the late 20s, and it was just. He's gone there. He's an experienced manager for the level. He's gone there and he's done a job. I know Tom Platt got one of the Player of the Season awards, which is nice to see as well. But like I say, they became a real force, and they ended up tripping some of the teams up that were going for some of the for the playoff spots in the end. But yeah, like you say, I wouldn't expect them to be too far off it in the North next season. They've got a really good base and a good squad there and a good manager. It's just a shame. Was it Josh Gowling went there and messed it all up? But we don't mind it because we got Jacob.
Thanks for that, Josh. Yeah, thanks for Jacob Hazel, Josh.
Yeah, that's it.
So
he signed him off, didn't he? And then he got sacked two weeks later. Thank you for that. Yeah.
But just going back to Tamworth as well, very quickly, when they came down, because I always remember that one player. You guys will probably remember his name. Quite a big player with a bald head. And we were thinking, how can a player like that be playing in this league? But he seems to have, well, he's played all season by the looks of it. And obviously they won the league and got promoted. And he's not bad, is he? He's had
Yeah, he's in my team of the season coming up, Damo. So we'll chat about him in a minute, shall we?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Because right. I'm going to say I've asked some listeners and some viewers for their opinions on some of the questions, and we've had some answers coming in. So I'm just going to quickly run through them if that's okay, and then we can move on to our team of the year. So the Fenlandrian has messaged in. Game for me was Gloucester away, though Chorley was a fantastic game. Keziah Martin's screamer, can't recall the opposition. Moment, easy to say, the penalty at Brackley, but the winning penalty at Alfreton gave him a sense of belief that we could go up. So, yeah, so I think, again, we mentioned Keziah Martin earlier. I think a few people probably going for that one as goal of the season as well. We've also had John Topley as well. He's messaged, and goal of the season would be Keaton's Ward's equaliser in the playoff final. So again, we mentioned that one, a very important goal at the time. Dave Stubley as well. He mentioned the 30-yard goal earlier in the season. I think he might be referring to Keziah Martin again. That one. His moment, he said, many shakes of the head, but we came good in the end. So, and Hannah and Christian as well. They loved the 3-1 against Blythe Spartans. That's the one I was mentioning as well. When 1-0 down, and they do remember as well that they sat behind the bench as well, and they remember one of the coaches getting a bit angry, and he threw water over the bench as well in a fit of rage, and they can remember that quite clearly. And I've actually seen the video of it as well, so I do remember that as well, in a fit of rage when they thought they were going to win it. So yeah, so thank you to everyone as well that's messaged in and given their views. So very kind of you. But shall we talk about our National League North team of the year?
Right, let's go. So it was an interesting year of National League North. Lots of turns, twists, and lots of unexpected things happened. And one of them was Tamworth being champions and also having the best defensive record in the league. So I think there's no other choice than the one man in goal that is Jazz Singh. He's been around this level more times than I can remember, and he had 25 clean sheets this season. That is an amazing achievement, especially for a side that were just promoted last year. He's been amazing. A few shout outs as well to Chester and their defence. I've got one of their players in my team of the year as well, and Boston, who also managed to put a few clean sheets in the way. Also Alfreton as well. But yeah, it just has to go to that man. He's just been exceptional, nearly beating Boston's record of 10 clean sheets in a row. They only got 9, luckily, so he still hold on to that in National League North. But yeah, I have to give it to the man in goal for Tamworth, Jazz Singh.
Yeah, agreed here.
Yeah, I've agreed with you on that one as well. And he's broken some records in the league as well this season, hasn't he? So, like you said, he's done absolutely superb for Tamworth this season, and definitely deserves that number 1 spot in the team of the year. So I think we all agree on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although we should have, I don't know if Cameron Gregory would have got it if it had stayed in goal the whole season. But that's another question, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And lots of people think we have got the best goalkeeper at this level. What we've just left, the level we've just left. Can I say that again?
Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, no, Cam Gregory would be a good shout. He's had a fantastic season in the sticks for Boston, regardless of that bad injury he picked up. But no, Jazz Singh for me has got to be the correct decision. And if we're talking overall season, he's had an immense season again, and he's not young either, is he?
No, 33, 32, something like that. Right. But that's a prime age for a goalkeeper, isn't it? They always get better in the older years, so a bit more experience and stuff. And you could definitely see that with Jazz Singh. I know he's been flirting around the level, especially with Telford, and then he came to Tamworth, I believe, in 2019 when they were in the, I believe it's the Northern Prem, and yeah, he's just been successful ever since, really.
So he could probably play until he's 38, 39 even. You never know. As a goalkeeper, they don't need to run around as much as the rest of the team. So yeah, they can always play on a little bit longer. So yeah, he might be around for a few years yet. So yeah, good luck to him. So okay, in defence, are you going for a 4-4-2?
I'm going for a 4-3-3, Damo. And
Okay.
the first Boston, I've been a bit naughty. I believe put one player out of position in here, but he sort of plays there. I'll get on to him later because he's been immense. But the first Boston player that I'm going to stick it right back, I think you know who I'm going to say. It's going to be J-Ro. Listen, we all know he's been getting interest, and since he came in October, I believe he hasn't even been here the whole season, but he has been immense, running up and down that right side of the pitch, putting balls in the box, scoring important goals. I remember he scored that one against Chorley as well in the 2-2 game that we drew. Unluckily, in the end, that was a pivotal moment in the season when he scored that. But yeah, he's just been quality ever since he's come through the door, and I hope we can keep on hold to him next season.
Yeah, I've got J-Ro actually as well in my team that I've got written down here. So yeah, I've got to agree with you on that one. I mean, he was player of the season at Boston. Since he's come in, he's just been outstanding for us. And like you said, got interest from teams, in the league and up, and other clubs that are looking at him. And I can see why. I can understand why. So hopefully he'll be attracted to stay at Boston in the National League, but we shall see, I guess.
Yeah, and then moving on to I've got so two centre backs here. One of them from Tamworth again, like I said, clean sheets leader. This guy's played the most out of all of them. I don't remember him playing against us, but I know he's been talked about a lot, and that's Knight Percival. I thought he played for Kidderminster last year, and he's come to Tamworth this year, and he's just been immense. Like you said, contributed at the back with Tamworth and got them the most clean sheets, and that's definitely been the reason why their defensive discipline has made them champions this season.
Interesting one on this one, David, is before our podcast this afternoon, I've been reading, it's just been released by Kidderminster.
Was he on loan? Is that what?
Yeah, he was on loan. He was on loan to Kidderminster from Tamworth. He's actually just been released by the club, by Kidderminster. So somebody's going to snap up a great player there, aren't they?
I wouldn't mind that if we did that, to be honest. He's quite the same with this other centre half that I've picked. Not many people would have thought of him. This other centre half, I've gone for Kennedy Digi, who plays for Alfreton at the back there. Big number 5. I remember he used to play at Farsley when we won when we got into the playoffs with Paul Cox. And he was amazing. He just wins every head at the back. He's so tall. I definitely wouldn't mind him having him in my team. He's a bit like Michael Bostwick. Anything that goes near him, he just kicks and boots it away. I remember when Jesse had a chance against Alfred, and he tracked back about 30, maybe 35 yards to go and slide in when we were on the break, and that just shows his pace and his absolute defending. I believe Billy Heath absolutely loves him. I can see why he's such a great defender for this level.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your guys' thoughts on your centre backs?
On the ones I've got Jordan Cullen Liebird from Tamworth.
Yeah.
I've got him down, but I have also like Mbika of Spennymoor, who obviously is an ex-Boston player. I was impressed with him at Boston. I thought he did absolutely fantastic at Boston, and I just think that I wish we'd held on to him longer. Really, he was more in the Paul Cox era, wasn't he, rather than the Ian Culverhouse era. Obviously then he was sold. He came back on loan. He came back from a loan spell, didn't he? But I think he played once maybe, and that was it. And then was sold after that, which was such a shame. But I thought he had an impressive performance down at Boston this season. I thought he did quite well, and I've heard in other games that he's played this season that he's done just as well. So I think he'd be there for me. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I have to just have a big shout out to my little boy who's put my team together. So I know Oliver's done an excellent job, so I'm just going to try and share this with you if I can.
Okay.
And you should be able to see this on the screen as well. So here we go. Can you see that?
Right, we can. Yes, right.
Yeah. So
okay.
my goalkeeper for Oliver was Jazz Singh, as we mentioned. Our left back was Uber. I can't even say his name. Uber Zanudu.
Lafudu.
Yeah, he really enjoyed him. Oliver did. And he says quick and seems to always find a way to contribute goals.
He was actually.
Yeah, very good, very good. And then the centre backs, look at that pairing for a centre backs. Dolman of Tamworth, who is the gent that we spoke about, Damo.
Yes.
Leader at the back and always finds a way to get the ball clear. This guy, how do we describe him to folks that have never seen him play football before? Slightly overweight.
Yes.
And looks completely out of place. But the guy reads the game ridiculously well.
He does. He looks like he plays for a pub team, doesn't he? but
he's
decent. He's good.
Very good. And then look at that. He's gone with Gaz Dean as well for Brackley, actually, who was fantastic in the game at our place, wasn't he? Headed everything out and an old school head inside there. And his right back, I know we haven't come on to the right backs yet, or we might have done them already, but John Lafudu for Oliver. Oliver's a big John Lafudu fan. And goes for him. He always likes him when he plays against us. So yeah, that's his defensive for us. And like I say, a real mix there of pace and experience.
Have to agree with you on that one. Yeah, I think I agree with you on them ones. Some fantastic players, and we should see you back very soon, Stedders.
There we go. Look,
there we
go. So,
yeah, and you're back. For anyone listening, we've just had a look at his team, and now he's back on the screen.
We are back, yes.
Yeah. I'll finish with my left back then. I picked Chester's Joel Taylor. He's so creative down that left hand side, and he's been pivotal to Chester's clean sheets this season, really. So that's why I picked him. Right, and now I'll move on to my midfield. I've got 3 midfielders, as I said before, and one name that shouldn't even be anywhere near this level is Butterfield for Scunthorpe. Wow, what a player he is! You can just see the quality that he has on that pitch. We saw it the other day in the playoffs. Didn't get him through because Michael Boswick had him in his pocket, but we don't talk about that. Butterfield, yeah, what a player. He shouldn't be near this level. Scunthorpe, they probably have to let him go. I don't know the financial situation that they're in, but I imagine he's on a pretty penny playing for them at the moment. And yeah, you just hope.
Get him on the phone, David.
Get him on the phone, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see about that. I wouldn't mind him in a Boston shirt, to be honest. And then this is my little cheat. He is a right winger, and he plays for Warrington, but I've stuck him at centre mid / cam, and he goes by the name of Isaac Buckley Ricketts. This man came up with Warrington last year. He is such an amazing. He's so creative. 15 goals and 14 assists in a Warrington side that have come up and done really well. I didn't really expect that from them, but like most of the teams that come up this year have done quite well, except bar Bishop Stortford. And he's been one of the reasons why Warrington are up there, because he's just so good. I wouldn't be surprised if he was snapped up by one of the big clubs in National League North. I could see him at a Chester or something like that. And then for my last one, I have to pick my final Tamworth player of the 11, and that was Kyle Finn. He, I believe, he also played a bit out wide, but he played mostly in centre mid. I believe he also got snapped up by Walsall, so he only made about 40 appearances, but the appearances that he made, yeah, I believe he's up there in the goal scoring charts again, in the creativity. And like I say, he's been one of the focal points of Tamworth's success.
I think for one of mine as well, going on that, I think I agree with you on what you've said, but also it may be controversial, maybe not, and because I've seen him all season, but Martin Woods, I think he's been, when he's played, all right, he's had a few little injuries, and but for his age, he's 38 years old now, I believe, and he's played absolutely phenomenal for Boston this season, and there's times where we thought, oh, he's not going to play the next game, because it looks like he's been taken off with quite a nasty injury. Next game, he's out there playing, and whenever he seemed to play, he seemed to be solid in that midfield, I thought, and he was always one of the important players that you probably didn't even notice half the time for Boston. And for me, I would put him in my team. So along with who you've said. What about you, Stedders?
Yeah, let's just again go back to my little chart for us, folks. Sorry for this. Here we go. So once more, here we go. So here we go. So yeah, here we go. Right midfield, Buckley Ricketts. Yes, there we go. There's a name for you. Have already been mentioned, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Butterfield in the centre.
Butterfield.
And guess what? Jordan Richards, finally a Boston player. He puts. Not recognised as much as the others, but make sure he puts 100% in no matter the scoreline. And I have to agree with him as well. Absolutely fantastic player, Jordan Richards is. I think fully deserves his plaudits for this season. And I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing him next season in a Boston shirt, because I believe he is one of the 4 players that are still signed on. So as far as I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's the case. And he's gone for Danny Whitehall as well. He's put him as a left midfield striker. So he's cheated a little bit as well, David, in terms of positioning. But he has gone for Danny Whitehall. Difficult to play against, and had great strength and put some away in the net also. Yeah, he's had a good scoring record, Whitehall, this season. He couldn't do it the other week against us, though, could he? Which is a real shame, wasn't it?
But I have to agree with you on that one with Jordan Richards, and it's the same with Keziah Martin as well. There were 2 players that, were in and around the team for most of the season, but you never really saw them. You never really, they scored some good goals and whatever during the season. But yeah, one of these players didn't really get the credits, did they? They deserved during the season, I would say.
Yeah, what you said about Jordan Richards, so I really hope it's true. If he is signed on, that is a hell of a coup for Boston United Football Club. He's been immense this year, and like you say, he just got picked. I've gone for a bit more of an attacking lineup, but if I had to choose if I had enough space for a defensive midfielder, I wasn't so silly. Attacking is the best way of defence, as I say. Yeah, I would probably pick him for my midfield. But I just looked at some of your inclusions in your attack, and I have to say I've gone exactly the same as you. Danny Whitehall, another name that shouldn't be anywhere near this level. I said it before. You could just see he had that sort of aura when we played them in the playoffs. It seemed like he was the focal point of their attack. Everything that he had that Scunthorpe attacked came through him, and you can just see the quality of him on the pitch. I've mentioned Jimmy Knowles as well, one of our own. He scored bags of goals, got loads of assists as well. What a player he's been for us this season. And then finally, if I would have missed this out, I would have been crazy, is the league's top goal scorer, Paul Blackett, who I hope we're maybe in contact with this transfer window. I don't know if we can prize him away from Tyneside, but we'll have to see. He's the league's top goal scorer, and you could see why. Only scored 1 against Boston though, so not done too much well there, Paul, have you?
No, definitely. I agree with you as well. I've got Jimmy Knowles and Danny Whitehall up front. Again, like you said, Whitehall really shouldn't be sort of playing in the National League North, but he is. And again, whether it's a player that, some of these Scunthorpe players are these players that we could be looking at maybe. Obviously, they're not too far from the Boston area. They're in Lincolnshire maybe, and is it a team that they might want to come and play in a higher league? Could we prize some of them players away from Scunthorpe, which would be absolutely amazing, seeing as they're supposed to be the bigger team. But I guess time will tell. Obviously, it depends on what happens with Scunthorpe as well in the close season, whether they go to part-time or stick to what they're doing, or obviously we don't know at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting few weeks coming up. I've got Jimmy Knowles as well. Again, he's just been fantastic for Boston this season. Scored lots of goals, and hopefully, again, he's another player that we can hold on to and move on next season with him in the team. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, my front line's very similar as well, gents. So Paul Blackett, Jimmy Knowles, the top two for us as well. Just going back to the Scunthorpe and the Whitehall situation, going to be very interesting, like you say, Damo. Football's a very ruthless game, though, isn't it? And it'd be very silly of us to not think about all these players at Scunthorpe that could be released shortly, and try and go for a few of these. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be Scunthorpe's loss is going to be Boston's gain potentially. And like I say, it'll be very, very silly of us for not to consider these options. And you have to take Scunthorpe's situation into consideration a little bit here. Like you say, they've openly admitted. I think this statement from the chairman, the lady who took over, said this, didn't it? That they have to work within their means, which means that we all know what that means. That means that they're going to have to cut back a lot, and sell a lot of their players. So yeah, it could be it's going to be a very interesting summer for Boston, isn't it?
It is.
With the PE teacher that was in charge there, they had to cut him off, and they hired one of the coaches who isn't best known for following contract rules. So we'll have to see how that goes for them. But like you say, though, you just have to consider. I know it's all good looking at the quality of players, but I've heard it many times. I heard it. Keaton Ward and Kelsey Mooney and Jimmy Knowles all say it. There's not a bad egg in that dressing room, and that is great to hear. Will one of these guys, I don't know them personally, but do they have big egos? Is that where it all fell apart at Scunthorpe? All these big names coming into our dressing room. That could have been a massive, massive factor of why they ultimately fell apart and somehow did not get promoted from this tin pot regional league that we're not going to. But yeah, you just have to consider that might be a reason we might not want them. We want more players that will just come into this group that we've got. It's really strong. You could see not many trophy lists the other day have fans involved, and you could just the togetherness of everyone just coming in and crowding everyone in a trophy. And that just shows how good of a group this is and how great the setup is of the club at the moment. And this is why I think we will go into that National League and we will succeed under Culverhouse. We're going to play our way. We're going to play some football. We're going to surprise some teams. And it's all go for Boston United.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And just going back to the promotion as well, just want to say, I mean, we've had a lot of people probably over the end of last season and after some games this season when the team haven't been doing as well and have said, well, is Culverhouse the right man? And, should he stay and all that? Well, when you look at it, beginning of last season, we started with Paul Cox. He got sacked, a few games in, and that's when Cully and Bazza came in. It was a struggle. They had his team that they had to try and change. This season, they've had their own home team. They've gone the whole season. This is their first full season in charge at Boston, and they've got us promoted. I mean, that just shows you the quality of the management, really, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Yeah, football's a funny game as well, because if you YouTube Kettering versus Boston, when they all got sent off that day down that time at the JCS, when Bastock and Culverhouse got sent off to Kettering against Boston, it's a funny old game, the old football, isn't it? And just going back to what you mentioned about the management and that and what a season they've had, they've put every one of them critics to bed, haven't they, by getting us out and promoted, haven't they? And one mention as well, I want to mention is the squad as well, not in terms of the quality, but more in terms of the numbers. How many loan players have we actually had on loan this season?
Yeah,
I think I counted 4. One
was right.
One was Aaron Chapman, and he wasn't even a loan player, was he? Because he was unregistered at that point.
That's right. So it's a short-term contract.
I got Mahovo, I got Adam Marriott, and I got Deji Satona, and I think that's where my list finished. They have kept such a nucleus of players and managed to motivate them to get them to the height of the pinnacle of where we need to be at the back end of the season. They've done a fantastic job. Honestly, they deserve, again, every plaudit they get. They deserve every single one of them. They've turned us around, haven't they? And have used this hybrid system and that extra time with the players to give their information over for each of these games. That extra training session could be what's made the difference,
Yeah.
Just that extra one to bring them all together again. And like David said, that dressing room is just so good at the minute. Why do we don't want to put a massive hole in it now and have to rebuild again, do we? just add to what we've got. You know, there's going to be naturally some players that will leave. It's just the way football goes. But if you can just keep that nucleus and then just add a bit of quality to it, like I say, we can upset a few next season for sure, and have the season that we all want, and that's just surviving at this new level we're at the National League. And how great is it to say that?
Oh, it is, absolutely. David?
Yeah, well, it's yeah, we just have to keep it. Like I said before, it's so pivotal. Like these players, I said it before, and I'll say it again. The togetherness is it. I remember when we were in Paul Cox, and we looked like a team of individuals. Everybody playing for their own personal game. And then you have to look. It's happened this season. You could argue Deji Satona was doing that, especially when he took the penalty off Jimmy Knowles. But the turnaround in his attitude, I have to say, it's only going to do him wonders as a player. He's come together. He's realised what he's done and what Cully, Bazza, and Joe are trying to create at this football club. And it's an amazing thing. And they've come together and they've built these foundations, and we, like Tom says, we don't want to knock them all down. We have to keep as many as we can, I believe. Just a few little additions, and we're going to be there. We're going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think you're right, and we've just got to look to next season now. Enjoy this week, enjoy the party, and enjoy the fact that we've been promoted. And then obviously, hopefully then they're going to start building within the next few weeks. We'll see some new players coming in, maybe, a lot of new players signing up that's already in the squad. Because like you said, there are some that are going to be here already for next season, isn't there? I believe there's one or two, I believe, that's got a contract into next season.
Michael Boswick, Jacob Hazel.
Yeah.
Jake Lovelace, the substitute goalkeeper, has also signed on for next season, I believe. The three. And like I said, Jordan Richards is the one I'm not 100% sure on.
No. What about Sam Smart?
Yeah, Sam Smart was the other one because he signed on halfway through the season.
Yes.
So he might be on like an 18-monther, might he? Because it would be daft if we just signed him on a 6-month. That would never have happened, would it? So I'd expect him to be on for next season as well. But again, if he's probably one they might have to have a discussion about, I don't know. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, gents. It's all a bit guesswork at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
it is.
We need these guys to enjoy this promotion party we've got lined up on Thursday night. And again, let's make them feel like heroes, because it can just take a celebration to change their minds. And there's going to be some that are going to be what would be snapped up. And like you say, other clubs are going to look at them, but we can't thank them enough for what they've done for this season, can we?
No, absolutely not. So, well, guys, thank you very much once again. We will be back with another special. We will be back hopefully next week with another special looking at the squad and who we think might stay, who we think might go, who we think should stay and maybe should go. We're going to do that next week. So do keep a lookout for that. And if you do want to subscribe, we are on Amazon Music, Spotify and Apple Music. And of course, you can watch us on YouTube. Just look for Up the Pilgrims and please subscribe to that. So thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. It's been a long season, but we did it. And we're going into the National League next season. And how exciting is it going to be? I can't wait.
I'm buzzing. Anyway, thank you, guys. I know it's been a bit of a bumper episode today, but it's been amazing as usual, and always will be amazing here on the Up the Pilgrims podcast.
Yeah, thank you, guys, for everybody that's tuned in so far, and to you too as well, gents, for all your time for this. And we'll keep these rolling, won't we? As long as people keep subscribing and listening, we'll keep these rolling every week.
Yes.
So yeah,
and it's just going to get bigger and better.
Absolutely.
Up the Pilgrims pipeline as well, which will be interesting to discuss. We're in a few talks right now, but we can't reveal. And
no. Keep watching, keep listening, and let's see what happens. Right, guys, thank you once again, and we will see you all very soon on another edition of the National League team, Boston United, on up the Pilgrims.
Up the Pilgrims.
Up the